Hello and welcome to Full Tech Ahead. I'm your host, Amanda Razani, and I'm excited to be here today with Rajeev Butani. He is the CEO of MediaMint. How are you doing?
Fine, Amanda. Thank you for having me. It's great to see you.
Happy to have you on our show. Can you share a little bit about yourself and your company? What services do you provide?
Absolutely. So first, I'll share a bit about myself and then about the company. So I'm the chairman and CEO of MediaMint. I've been running this company for now close to 3 years. Prior to that, I ran a startup. It was a Google venture-backed startup, and then before that, Amanda, I was in Accenture. In Accenture, I spent over 2 decades, but I ran three things. So I was part of the founding team that established Accenture's Advanced Technology Centers, which has probably 500,000 people. I was also leading Accenture's software and platforms business. This is the work that Accenture does for companies such as Google and Meta, and that was the fastest growing business for me when I was running this. And then in my last role, I was the group CTO for Accenture's communication, media, and technology business. So that's just me. I live in San Francisco. In terms of our company, Amanda, we are MediaMint. We are primarily a AI-powered growth ops company. So if I just share a bit more about it, in MediaMint, we've got deep domain experience with the media, entertainment, technology companies. Today, Amanda, we work with over 150 publishers, platforms, ad tech companies, software companies, and we run their front office operations. So, for example, we run their media operations, we run their ad operations, we run sales and marketing for them. And for all of them on a day-to-day basis, we are responsible for driving growth, and driving the front office function. So that's what we've been doing historically. What we've done over the last couple of years, Amanda, is we've taken our deep domain knowledge and AI and agentic AI, and we've transformed ourselves into an agentic services company. So that's what we've done. The approach that we are taking on this, Amanda, is what we call as persona-based approach. So instead of going and impacting, different types of systems where there's a lot of complexity, we are creating augmented assistants that sit side by side with humans and drive and enable 50, 60, 70% of efficiency and effectiveness improvement for that. So that's what we do today, and we are seeing significant amount of traction in this area.
Interesting. We're hearing so much these days about agentic AI. How is it disrupting processes from how they used to be to now?
Yeah. So in terms of the belief that AI will disrupt process, drive productivity gains has been established. That's one thing that we've seen. But the scale of that or the adoption of that is still pretty slow at this point in time. What we are seeing with our customers is the initial easy doors are being knocked out. So a lot of companies are adopting, for example, ChatGPT across their organizations as an enterprise tool. But when it comes to adopting that into process and tools, those are places where it's taking longer. What I'm seeing with agentic service, Amanda, is that companies are moving away from um, looking at specific systems or areas like SaaS platforms or technology solutions or even operations, and they're looking for companies who can come in and deliver the outcome of work to them. So that's the shift that we are seeing, and that's where we are going. So I think any company that's moving away from the hype, looking at how they can integrate AI into the process and workflows, I think those are the places where they see maximum amount of traction and benefit.
So, with it being a little slow going still on the adoption there, what tips do you have for companies who are looking to just start looking at agentic AI solutions and implementing these new tools? Where should they start?
Yeah. So when I think about this, Amanda, I think of three things. So one is like I mentioned earlier, there is so much of hype. It's important to stay away from the hype and focus on the work and process and how AI could be adopted in a strategic manner for the work that is done, and for that matter, for companies where the product manifests itself into AI, adopting AI into the product. So I think that's the first thing. I think the second thing is to not look at AI as just a technology tool, but also to recognize that there is massive amount of change and operational ownership that is required. Because if you just look at it as a tool, it might become an investment that sees limited amount of usage and adoption. But if you think of it more from an operational ownership perspective, where the company is keeping the end in mind, whether it's a business outcome, whether it's revenue growth, and focusing on that, I think that becomes important in terms of adopting it. That's the second thing. The third thing, Amanda, what I've seen is the power of agentic service to deliver outcome is massive. But when companies start to adopt it, it's important to stay away from expecting magic from day one. Just like any process that's coming in, one might see maybe 20-30% distance that's being traveled. And then if the companies use it over time, they will see the adoption in a very significant manner. One of the things that we speak to customers is a lot of times when you think about the concept of last mile, saying that once we've got technology or once we've got a particular solution, we are at the last mile. I think when we think of AI is not at the last mile for an organization. It's actually 100 miles away. And the 100 miles, and it's got 100 miles of distance with mountains and all sorts of other issues. And it's all about the organization. It's all about the change. So as long as companies can look at it from that perspective, keep an operational mindset, and make sure that look at accountability for the outcome, I think companies can come in and be successful.
Do you have any use case examples that you can share, some transformation journeys for some companies?
Yeah. We're working with a lot of companies that are at different stages in their life cycle. So if I just take an example of companies that are into advertising or publisher business, where they're running media operations and ad operations. So we are recently working with a company that where we're looking at all of the media operations that they do, which is taking requests from advertisers and brands that want to advertise on the publisher's platform. So we are looking at the media operations, and we've introduced agentic AI. So when I mentioned persona-based approach, we're looking at roles. So if you're a media planner, we've surrounded the media planner with an augmented assistant that's looking at every function that the media planner is doing and driving efficiency. For example, a media planner will spend probably 40-50% of their time creating a media plan. Historically, that's a very manual process. They would use Excel sheets, they would use Google Sheets, they'll extract data from different types of platforms. So here we've introduced an augmented assistant, which is an agentic AI platform that creates this media plan in a fairly quick manner. We've seen about 70% efficiency improvement around that. But it also then covers everything else that the media planner is doing. So if the media planner has to look at past campaigns, they have to see what's worked well, what's not worked well. They will start to incorporate that into the media plan. If they have to communicate their media plan with a salesperson or the customer, then it'll write all the communications that are required in order to do so. So holistically, the whole media planning process becomes very efficient without having to impact any of the backend systems in order to do so. It sits in the middle and it drives efficiency. Amanda, the other example is, if I take the similar area of a publisher, if I'm a publisher and if I want to drive the right level of return on ad spend for any money that any brand is spending on my platform, then the campaigns need to be managed in an appropriate manner. So there are rules, or there are folks who are responsible for optimizing the campaign and managing the campaign. So we've used agentic assistant in the same way. The assistant is sitting side by side with the campaign optimizer, and they will look at what's pacing well, which campaign is pacing well, which campaign is performing well, which campaign is getting close to red status or P0 status because they may not deliver the right impression. And then they will also come and start giving recommendations. But all of this is done with human in the loop process, right? It's not autonomous. It's instead of the humans working with tools in the background, in this case, we are shifting it and saying it's AI first. It's agentic service that drives not just automation, but even thinking for the human, and then provides that to the human to go and achieve the outcome. So it's like a star network. If you think of agents being on the ends and humans sitting in the control room, making sure that everything is working well. So those are just few examples, and we've seen quite a bit of efficiency around.
Thanks for sharing. It sounds like that would reduce weeks of planning time that could be used towards other tasks.
Yeah. And these things become important, Amanda, because it's oftentimes when brands are coming to publishers, there isn't enough time that's provided to the publishers to get back to them with a good media plan and an RFP and what could work. So it reduces the effort, it increases the speed time of response, and then it frees up people who are in those functions to think strategically versus just being out of breath trying to respond to these types of requests.
Do you envision a future where pretty much everyone's going to be using agentic AI in some way?
I believe so, Amanda. I mean, if you go back and if you look at history, there was when internet was launched, there were similar questions that came up with regards to the internet. When we had mobile that came into, when during the mobile era, people were thinking about what's my mobile strategy, what's my digital strategy. I think in the same way, in the consumer space, AI has been used for many, many years, as we know, whether it's around search, whether it's around autonomous, whether it's around GPS or mapping. But within company processes, I absolutely expect that AI will start getting embedded into different workflows. And honestly, it'll break silos, because historically, companies from an operating model perspective have been so rigid with different functions, and that rigidity oftentimes prevents business outcomes. I think AI just goes across all of this.
Oh,
So
that's interesting because that's another issue companies still struggle with is siloed departments. So it would, you feel, break down that silo and improve communication and processes.
yeah. Take the example that I was mentioning. So if you take media planning, so media planning requires many functions to work together. There's a sales role where the salesperson is engaging with the customers. You have the back end function that's responsible for the media planning or the media ops function. You have folks who are looking at account management. Now, all of these oftentimes sit in different functions. But if you're creating a media plan, the agentic service can go across all of these functions, get the data from there, and create a plan that's very effective instead of trying to knock on doors or trying to wait for people to come back.
Wonderful. Well, we know that AI is evolving rapidly. So, what do you envision, say, 2 years down the road? What are we going to see? What impact is it going to make?
Oh gosh, Amanda, 2 years is a lifetime with the pace that we are seeing now, And so I'll give you one example of so when we were creating our agentic platform, um, my CTO, I remember a few months ago, my CTO had been working on a particular solve, right? Because the way we've created the platform is to make it really simple for companies to adopt it. We've solved the technology layer, and now it's about understanding companies' process. We call it run books. So bringing the run book, which are policies, guardrails, and best practices, and applying it onto the platform to create customizable AI agents for different companies. So when he was building this platform, I remember he coming in and telling me that there was a piece of work that he was working on for 3 months, which became completely useless when the new version of a foundation model that was launched. He said, I spent 3 months building this, and now I can see in the next foundation model it can be done in 2 days. So I feel that the advancement that's taking place in the foundation models and the whole layer all the way further up, 2 years is a lifetime in terms of where things could be, and I couldn't be more excited about it. I think what's important for every company is to be out there, for them to experiment, because that's the only way you can understand and adopt it.
Absolutely. Well, I was going to ask for your key takeaway. That almost seems like that's the key takeaway, but do you have a key takeaway for our audience today?
I believe that everyone has to surf to catch the waves. So in the same way, companies have to start to stay away from the hype, start adopting AI, look at it strategically, look at it being deployed for the process different types of processes, and then focus on the operational ownership, because it's not just about technology. It's about the end outcome, and it's about folks who are going to carry the ball across the line. So I think as long as folks are looking at it from that perspective, I think it's going to be great for companies.
Wonderful.
Thank you so much, Amanda. It's a pleasure.
All right. And thank you to our audience. Stay tuned. There's more.